Welcome back to FinScribble. If you turned on the evening news lately, you have almost certainly seen the terrifying headline that keeps modern homeowners and everyday investors awake at night. $34 trillion in United States national debt. The prevailing doom and gloom narrative insists that this massive, towering mountain of debt is a ticking time bomb destined to crash the global financial system tomorrow morning. But here is your macroeconomic reality check. History tells a drastically different story. National debt on this scale is not actually unprecedented, and it will not cause a sudden overnight economic collapse. However, what it will do is quietly rewrite the rules for your mortgage, your personal savings, and your long-term wealth accumulation. To truly understand how this massive financial engine operates and what it means for your wallet, we need to travel back to a forgotten historical parallel that completely changes the narrative.
To see where the modern economy is heading, let us look back to 1947. Post-World War II Britain was physically devastated, financially broke, and sitting on a staggering debt-to-GDP ratio of 250%. Relative to the size of their economy, that was more than double America's debt burden today. Conventional economic wisdom at the time strongly predicted total bankruptcy, hyperinflation, and complete national ruin. Yet, over the next 3 decades, something extraordinary happened. Britain did not default on its obligations, and their society did not collapse. Instead, they rebuilt their cities, dramatically expanded homeownership, boosted manufacturing, and steadily eroded that massive debt mountain down to under 50%. So, how exactly did a nation carrying such a colossal financial obligation manage to thrive rather than sink? The secret lies in a clever macroeconomic playbook that governments still quietly use today. How did post-war Britain pull off this financial miracle? They relied heavily on an effective strategy known as financial repression. Instead of paying off national debt through budget surpluses or crushing tax hikes, governments intentionally orchestrate a specific economic environment. They cap nominal interest rates at artificially low levels, while allowing mild inflation and economic growth to run slightly higher. If annual inflation runs at 5%, while government bond yields are capped at 3%, the real value of that debt shrinks every single year. It is essentially a hidden stealth tax that systematically reduces the purchasing power of debt holders without requiring political legislation. For government treasuries, paying back debt with money that is worth less every year makes the overall debt burden far easier to manage. But can modern nations simply copy this exact post-war blueprint today? The answer is complicated because two major structural forces make today's environment fundamentally different: demographics and government entitlements. Post-war Britain experienced an unprecedented baby boom, rapid factory expansion, and surging workforce productivity that fueled high economic growth. In contrast, modern developed economies face aging populations and massive mandatory spending commitments for retirement pensions and healthcare systems. These structural entitlements grow automatically, placing continuous upward pressure on fiscal deficits regardless of tax revenues. However, America possesses one colossal structural advantage that post-war Britain lost. The United States dollar remains the premier global reserve currency. Because central banks and international investors worldwide must hold dollars for global trade, global demand for United States Treasury debt remains artificially high. This structural reserve status gives the nation a unique financial cushion, though it does not eliminate the underlying economic consequences for everyday citizens. So, what does this entire macroeconomic picture mean for your personal mortgage? First, expect baseline mortgage rates to remain higher than the ultra cheap 3% era because the government must constantly issue trillions in new bonds, driving yields upward. But here is the major silver lining for existing and prospective homeowners. Fixed rate debt is your ultimate personal defense against financial repression. Think back to the 1970s. A $1,000 monthly mortgage payment felt overwhelming in 1970, consuming a massive portion of household income. But by 1990, after 20 years of wage inflation, that exact same $1,000 fixed payment felt like pocket change. The exact same inflation mechanism that erodes the real value of national debt also quietly shrinks the real burden of your fixed mortgage over time. As nominal wages adjust upward over the decades, your locked housing cost stays completely flat. While $34 trillion in debt will not cause a sudden overnight financial crash, it guarantees a persistent regime of structural inflation and elevated nominal interest rates. To navigate this reality successfully, you need an actionable personal playbook. Rule number 1. Secure long-term, fixed-rate debt on cash-flowing real assets, letting inflation work for you rather than against you. Rule number 2. Maintain ownership in quality equities and productive assets that actively adjust prices and revenues to outpace currency devaluation. Rule number 3. Avoid keeping excessive uninvested cash in traditional low-yielding bank accounts where inflation constantly erodes purchasing power. By understanding how sovereigns manage debt, you can position your personal portfolio to thrive in any macroeconomic environment. If you enjoyed this historical deep dive, please hit the like button, subscribe to FinScribble, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. As always, appreciate you hanging out today. See you in the next one.